Hi there, everybody. My name is David McLeod. I am here on the Wellness Universe book club to do a live reading of my chapter from my book right here. Here it is. This book is called The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, 25 Tools for Happiness. And I had the good fortune to be part of the team that contributed to this. And my chapter is right there. You can see, well, you might not be able to see it too well, but there it is. Happiness Hyperlisting, Ultimate Journaling for Authentic Joy. Now, the writing here, the text in here is a little bit small. I have to squint a little, and I'm not wearing my proper reading glasses so that I can use the computer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read this to you from my, I guess I'm going to use a, what do you call it, a PDF file. And, oh, I see somebody's on there. Hi, Emily, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. I'm trying to figure out how to follow this on my other computer. It's not showing up as a live here. I don't know why. Maybe I don't know, I'm missing something. Let's see. Whoops, come on. I want to be able to watch at the same time. Too much technology. It's a bit of a stretch sometimes to do some of these things. And Facebook, with all due respect, their technology is a little bit kludgy. It's really hard to follow. But anyway, here I am. I'm going to have some fun with you. I'm going to read my chapter, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So I'm going to pull up this document on my screen so I can see it. There it is. So here we go. Chapter 18, Happiness Hyperlisting, Ultimate Journaling for Authentic Joy by David McLeod. Yeah, all those things. So I'm going to start with my story. Happiness. A delightful word, right? So round and cuddly and warm and inviting. No wonder everybody wants it. In fact, chasing this thing called happiness is something of an international obsession for people at every level of society. Happiness is considered so valuable and important that the pursuit of it is enshrined as an unalienable right in the U.S. Declaration of Independence, an equal partner right up there with life and liberty. Yet why is it that so many people in the world rarely find lasting happiness? What is it that makes happiness so elusive? And where do we get the idea that we had to pursue it? Well, in the early 1990s, questions like these were uppermost in my mind. Transitioning from my 30s into my 40s, I became disillusioned. I was totally frustrated with the pointless chase. While I enjoyed occasional moments of laughter and joy, generally I was pretty unhappy. I had become angry and resentful, with no real understanding of how I had arrived there. After all, I had done everything that I believed I was supposed to do. Oops, I just went too far. The scrolling is difficult here. Where am I? All right, let me get back to where I was. I'm sorry about that. Here we are. So I got to be very careful about how I scroll. Here we go. I had done everything that I believed I was supposed to do. Be a good boy, check. Play by the rules, check. Be nice to everyone, well, mostly check. Complete high school and university education, check. Have a steady job, check. Have a wife and growing family, check. Live in a house with a moderate mortgage payment, check. Be a contributing member of the community, check. By all the standard societal metrics, I was on the right path toward a comfortable and happy life, but I didn't feel happy. On the contrary, I was miserable. While I had much to be grateful for, I had somehow devolved into an angry and resentful cynic, although admittedly I was firmly in denial about it for years. That is until July 1992, following my mother's passing, when the dam burst and my anger overflowed in a very destructive way. Just checking comments here. Thank you, Emily. I appreciate that. It's good to see you here too. Okay, so now here's Here's where I am. That is until July 1992, following my mother's passing, when the dam burst and my anger overflowed in a very destructive way. "Hello?" she called. The door slammed behind her. "It's me." My sister Diane and her daughter Bailey, dropping by for an unexpected visit. I looked up from the cutting board as she turned the corner into the kitchen. "Hey, Di, what's up?" "Bailey and I were heading home, and I just felt like checking in." "Everything good here?" I said. I tilted my glass and took a swig. "Care for a martini? Glass of wine?" "No, thanks," she said. "We're not staying long. I just had something on my mind, and I wanted to talk to you." Something in her voice felt dark and ominous, and I was instantly on guard. I looked at her with a mixture of curiosity and dread, but I didn't say anything. She hesitated briefly and then blurted, "It's been 3 weeks since Mom died, and I still haven't seen you show any sadness about it. What the hell is wrong with you?" How is it that the simplest of statements seem to have the greatest power? Suddenly, the inside of my chest was burning, as if a cork had popped out of a pressurized bottle of acid. In the next moment, Diane was up against the wall with my right hand around her neck. In my racing mind, I was screaming the thought, "Don't you tell me how to grieve." But what hissed out of my mouth was, "Don't you tell me how to be." Diane was so stunned by my reaction that she just hung there, gaping at me with eyes wide and mouth open. My mind suddenly went quiet, except for a distinct whisper, "Enough. Time to let go." I gradually regained awareness of my situation, and I released my hand. I shook my head absently and muttered, "I'm sorry, I don't know what happened." Shame and horror began filling my burning chest to replace the overflowing acid. Diane's face tried on a variety of expressions, settling at last on righteous indignation. Her body tensed, she glared at me, and she hissed back, "How dare you!" I was confused and disoriented, and my body was shaking now. Diane yelled other stuff at me, but I had mentally checked out. Somehow, I found myself outside, wandering aimlessly around the neighborhood. I replayed the scene in my mind multiple times, seeking understanding. The dreadful realization dawned on me that everything had happened in the presence of my daughter, my son, and my niece. My daughter's pleading voice echoed in my head, "Daddy, don't." By the time I ventured back home, Diane and Bailey were gone. So were my wife and children. I was left alone to stew in my own juices. According to McLeod family dynamics back then, no one ever discussed this issue, at least not around me. It was as if my outburst had never happened, and indeed, I banished it from my own mind for years. It's hard to convey in minimal words the magnitude of this event in my life. It was a wake-up call like no other, and it caused me to take a serious look at my life. Naturally, I didn't much like what I saw. It seemed I had become something of a poster boy for the dysfunctional. I knew deep down that I had to act soon, or else risk my inner rage bursting out of me to do serious and possibly irreversible damage to the people I loved most, my 3 amazing children. Unfortunately, because I didn't really understand what had gone wrong in my earlier life, I had no clue how to fix anything. Repercussions rippled within me for the next 3 years. While I focused on completing graduate work in computer science, I tried haphazardly to find support for what I needed to do. Eventually, I concluded that the help I needed was not available to me where I lived in Canada, so I made the radical and seemingly impetuous decision to change everything all at once. I terminated my PhD program, announced to my wife that I wanted a divorce, found a software engineering job in Silicon Valley, and left my family. In essence, I escaped from what I believed was slowly destroying me from the inside out. Unsurprisingly, the misery I had been feeling did not simply disappear because of a change in circumstance. Indeed, shortly after arriving in Palo Alto, I began to experience severe depression that led to dark thoughts of suicide. It was only the painful prospect of leaving my children without a father that kept me from acting out those thoughts. It turned out that moving to California was probably the most important and beneficial decision I could have made. Serendipity connected me with many resources that helped me to uncover and heal the hidden wounds that had created all the shame, pain, and anger growing within me over all those years. I maintained a long-distance relationship with my children and embarked on a journey of personal growth that eventually allowed me to reclaim my true self and to begin living life for myself rather than for some false image of me fueled by beliefs about what others wanted and expected. The most intense part of my awakening took the better part of a decade, and in that time, I was blessed with many powerful lessons. I found the acceptance, compassion, and forgiveness necessary to release myself from the dysfunctional beliefs associated with my deep wounds. I discovered a deep understanding that allowed me to know and experience myself more fully. As a result, I connected to an even deeper understanding of my soul's purpose, my mission in life. I learned that even though some aspects of my life were affected by the thoughts, words, and actions of others, ultimately it was my own choices that shaped my life. I learned about the amazing power of relationships and how, if we enter them from a place of committed awareness and mutual acceptance, they can provide a sacred landscape within which our most profound growth and experience can occur. I learned about the power of intentional and self-responsible communication, fully owning my truth without apology and being completely open and receptive to the truth of others, even if I totally disagree with them. I learned the difference between being nice and being real. I brought myself into a more conscious way of interacting with people that allowed me to maintain my sovereignty and authentic presence without capitulating to their unconscious expectations of me. I developed a finely tuned sense of integrity, learning to live my life from a place of authenticity, openness, and honesty, and being accountable for all my thoughts, words, actions, and feelings in every single moment. I connected to a deep sense of gratitude for everything that was happening in my life, and indeed for everything that occurs everywhere, because it all contributes one way or another to my full experience of who I really am. As I look at this list now, I realize what an amazing transformation I have gone through since 1995. But I'm under no illusions here. My life is not perfect, and I don't claim that I'm always completely peaceful and even-tempered in all my interactions. Like most humans, I still have occasional feelings of anger and resentments, but at least now I know how to process those emotions without blaming, shaming, or hurting others. The rage that used to exist within me is entirely gone now, so that most of the time, because I've reclaimed the truth of who I really am, I'm a pretty happy guy, especially when I'm doing something that is fully aligned with my purpose. I'm just going to take a pause here and check out some of the comments. Well, hi, Desiree. Thank you for joining. I'm glad to see you here. And Emily, great. It's nice to have you both here. So now I think what I'd like to do is move on to the tool. One of the tools that I have created over the years, but this one in particular seems to be relevant to the concept of happiness. And it's something that has evolved over the course of time. You may have heard me talk about it in other contexts. It's called hyperlisting. That's the general tool. But today we're going to talk about happiness hyperlisting. In other words, we're going to take it specifically to that topic. Oh my goodness, a whole bunch of new people just showed up. This is great. Hi, Anna. Glad to see you here. Hi, Jeanette. Nice to see you. This is awesome. It's great to have some people here. All right, the tool. Overview of happiness. A key lesson I've learned is that happiness is not something that can be obtained or achieved. Despite consumerist suggestions to the contrary, you can't just go out there somewhere, find a bottle of happiness, and bring it home to enjoy. It's not possible to identify anything outside of yourself as happiness and chase it down like big game in the forest. There's no substance or object you can pursue, the capturing of which will make you happy. Furthermore, no matter what you might believe, it is simply not possible to make someone else happy. While we might be able to elicit temporary smiles and other signs of enjoyment from people, we're simply not powerful enough to control other people's emotions. Sadly, our collective ideas about happiness are mostly wrong. I now believe that happiness is the natural default state of being for all humans. When you raise your awareness to an energetic level of complete acceptance, allow all the busyness, chaos, and clutter of life to fall away and settle down, when you release stories, masks, and false images of yourself, when you lovingly tame your ego mind into silent servitude, then you naturally and effortlessly reconnect to calm, serenity, peace, and happiness. Now, one thing I'd like to divert and say here for a moment is I like to distinguish between happiness and joy. Happiness is that pleasure that you feel with something that's going on, perhaps because of something outside of yourself. But joy is this natural state that I'm talking about, and that's why I make the distinction, okay? So anyway, any perceived lack of happiness is nothing more than a temporary forgetting of who you really are. Conversely, the pathway back to happiness is a simple case of remembering the truth of who you really are. Connecting to this natural state is something you can choose anytime you want to. These truths are so simple to comprehend, but not necessarily easy to implement. That's why we have so amazing tools, and many of them right here in this great book. Anyway, that's why we have so many amazing tools. When I struggle to remember the truth of who I am, one of the tools I use, and I found especially helpful, is something I call hyperlisting. I'm a big fan of journaling, as I've shared before, and I have learned that hyperlisting can supercharge any list writing activity to quickly produce optimal results. So let's start with a little preparation. Well, of course, you're going to need a journal. So you want to grab your favorite journal, that leather-bound thing that you love so much, and maybe a beautiful pen that you like to write with. Retreat to a loving, contemplative space where you can sit comfortably for 30 minutes or so without being disturbed. A quiet room in your home is acceptable, but a place in nature will be even more conducive to open-hearted journaling. If you are out in nature, find a solid, flat area to sit on, preferably with your back upright against a sturdy tree. Or if you're on the beach, try sitting with your back against a large rock. If you are indoors, choose a room with a lot of natural light, with a background view of trees, flowers, mountains, or oceans, or whatever else you can get from nature. Sit in a supportive chair that won't induce sleepiness. In order to clear the energy and to reduce the negative effects of electromagnetic radiation, remove all electronic devices from your sacred space. Feel free to bring special objects, things like candles, essential oils, or incense into your space to intensify your level of intention. Thank you, Janet. Yes, I'm glad that you got your book, and it's just pretty amazing about the distinction between happiness and joy. I appreciate that. All right, next thing, setting intentions. Take a few minutes to stand in the middle of your sacred space with your eyes gently closed. Let your hands open outward to the sides of your hips and inhale deeply to a slow count of 4. When your lungs are full, hold your breath for a slow count of 4. Then allow the breath to just exhale out to another slow count of 4. And then again, at the bottom of your exhale, hold the breath one more time for a count of 4. During each inhale portion, imagine that warm white light is filling your entire being from the top of your head down to the toes that are touching the ground. And during each exhale portion, imagine that all stress and anxiety and negativity are flowing out through your feet into the loving embrace of Mother Earth. Repeat this cycle about 10 to 12 times, whatever you feel, or more if you like. And with each cycle, see yourself becoming more and more open-hearted, and invite the energy of clarity and certainty to join you in this space. Gently sit down and bring your journal and pen onto your lap. All right, the writing process. So open your journal to an empty page and draw a vertical line down the middle of the page so that you have an equal amount of space to write on each side of the line. If you run out of space on one page, you can continue on a second page or a third or a fourth or however many you need. And the more the better for you. But remember to divide each new page in half. All right, part 1, positives. Start writing down only on the left side of the page. This is where you list all the reasons you have right now for being happy. A few prompt questions will help you fill out this space. Now I'm going to read through these quickly. Normally I would take you through these slowly, but you can pick up the book and read through these yourself. But anyway, here are a few prompt questions that can help you. What am I happy about right now? What things bring a smile of joy to my face? What activities do I actively seek out because they make me happy? What people in my life bring me the most joy? Write down everything you can think of that belongs on the left side of the page. All the positive things that you can think of. Just keep writing without judgment and without editing until you can't think of anything else. Once you're done, go back over the prompt questions and see if anything else comes up for you. Remember, don't judge anything you write, just write it down, and when you are done, take a few deep breaths and notice how you're feeling just about that part of it. Now, part 2. I don't like to use this word, but I will for the sake of description, negatives. So now it's time to fill up the other side of the page. So go back to the beginning of this page. This time you're going to write down all your reasons for being unhappy. Look, I know you really want to be happy, not unhappy, but don't worry. You're going to see how this actually does a flip for you and turns into something really powerful. So we'll get to that really good part in a minute. But here are a few prompt questions that might help you with the negative side. What am I sad, angry, fearful, or unhappy about right now? What's going on in my life that makes me feel those feelings? What things really piss me off or ruin my day? What people in my life do I dread seeing the most? And we all have some of those, don't we? Again, write everything you can think of and avoid any judgment. Just write it down. This is not a time to be making yourself wrong for what you might be thinking. This is a time to just write it down and just keep doing it until there is nothing more. Now, for some people, this list may be longer than the first list. You may have a lot of negatives in your life. But don't worry about that. It's not important whether you have more or less. What is important is that we're going to take those negatives and we're going to create, and this is part 3, more positives. So here's how it works. For each item on the right side of your list, you're going to find at least 2 reasons that you can be grateful for it. This is the real work where transformation comes from. If you can accept each item on your negative list as something that you somehow invited into your life, then you can also accept it as something that is there for a reason. Since there's a reason for it, then surely you can find something about it to appreciate. So for example, your list might contain the phrase, I hate it when Jack or Jill heads off to work without saying goodbye. This seems like something that would bother most people. But is there a lesson here? Can you see a gift in this thing that triggers you? Maybe when you reframe it, you might realize that you have been neglecting Jack or Jill in some way. And now that you recognize it, perhaps you can see a way to heal something within yourself to deepen that connection. That sounds like something to be grateful and happy for, wouldn't you agree? So add it to the positives on the left side of your page. So that you get the idea. You want to extract at least 2 positive ideas out of every negative that's on the right side and add them all to the left side of the list. So no matter how big your negatives were compared to your positives, at the end, you will have you'd have more than double the number of negatives on your list because you had some positives plus double the number of negatives. That's the power of this process. And it's amazing how easy you can turn something into a positive just by reframing it. All right. So once you've completed both parts of this, the next part is to do some reflection. You want to take a few minutes to stand up and read each item on your list of positives. Forget about the negatives now. They've done their job. Just read out loud all the reasons, the positive reasons you have for being happy. And allow the warmth of happiness and gratitude to fill your heart and infuse your body. And then we end with an affirmation to complete the process. The idea here now is after you have read all those and just allow yourself to feel that happiness filling your body. And maybe you can notice there's some energy coming in like warm sunshine or something like that corresponds to happiness for you. And it may have a color like yellow, or maybe the color for you is blue, or maybe there is no color at all. But maybe that you can feel the vibration of that happiness through your body. And as you feel that, this is a time to take that control of that and build an affirmation out of it. Here's one that I am creating for you, but you can write your own. And so you can repeat assertively for yourself something like this. I am grateful for every aspect of my life, and I am blessed by an abundance of happiness in every single moment. Let me say that again. I am grateful for every aspect of my life, and I am blessed by an abundance of happiness in every single moment. Man, think about that. All of us are blessed by an abundance of happiness in every single moment. We just may not be able to see it because of the way our minds are working. So this is an opportunity to maybe grow beyond the ego mind and to use this tool to help you reconnect to your authentic joy anytime you want to. So you can revisit this exercise anytime you feel a little bit down. You can incorporate it as a regular practice in your life, and the more you do so, the more you will express and experience your true self. As a result, the more you will invite and experience your natural default state, which is happiness. All right, so I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to open it up to any questions that people may have. Chuck says, in transition, no positive or negative change. My vibration purging almost all empty of my new self, starting in a position. I'm having a little bit of a hard time understanding that whole comment, Chuck, but I'm getting that you found the process helpful to purge the negative information. Yes, Desiree, choices. Choices are extremely important. I mean, we all have the power and the capacity to make choices constantly. In fact, that's probably the only thing that we have true freedom about. We have true freedom about choosing how we choose to show up in any given moment. And it's an important choice. Does anybody else have any questions that they'd like to ask before I close this out? I just want to watch. Did I miss anything? Big heart from Anna. Well, big heart back to you, Anna. Thank you as well. All right, we're getting close to my closing time. But I wanted to read something here from I don't know if you are familiar with Hafiz. He writes or whoever this person is, he's a Sufi poet. But I got this book years ago. It's called The Gift, Poems by Hafiz. And I just happened to see this one today. I just flipped open to a random page. And I like doing that periodically. I'll go to a random page and just see what it is. But I think this is a powerful one for all of us to remember as we connect to our true happiness. So let me just read this for you. This one's called You're It. God, disguised as a myriad things and playing a game of tag, has kissed you and said, you're it. I mean, you're really it. Now, it does not matter what you believe or feel, for something wonderful, majorly wonderful, is someday going to happen. That's it. So remember, my friends, you are it. And you are amazing beings of light and love. So thank you for joining me here today, and I look forward to connecting with you again sometime soon. Oh, and don't forget, by the way, if you're not already a member of the Wellness Universe, come check it out, thewellnessuniverse.com. And the other thing is join this group, this book club. If you're not already a member, make sure you request to become a member and become a part. Bye now.